made, where it comes from, what traceability actually means. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. But if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the chat box. It could be about anything. If I don't have the answer, I'll look for the answer for you. But again, you guys can ask anything you guys want, or also leave a comment, or you guys can turn on your microphone at the end of our virtual experience and ask away also. All right. Great. So it is 5:03. Since we have the majority of the group is here, and it's amazing to see how big of a group we have today. It is gonna be a good experience when we all get our have our day started, like in Japan, or are coming back from work, listening in as well. It's an amazing time to be able to listen in, continue learning about Nutrilite, so that we can motivate others to live an optimal, healthy life. So thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your day. I see lots of new people joining in as I'm speaking right now. If you're just coming into our virtual space, my name is Manny. I'll be giving the tour or the virtual experience today on Zoom. And we are excited to have you guys here. At any moment, if you have a comment or a question, please use the chat box that is in Zoom. You guys can send us any comment or question that we have in Zoom. And then after the presentation, I will get to any of those that we have. All right, so thank you guys again for being here. Super exciting time to be able to log in with all of you guys from different parts of the world, but with one goal in mind: to live a healthier life and a passion for our products as well, on helping others. So awesome to see this big of a group here. All right, let's start our virtual experience. I'm gonna share my screen now, and we can jump into today's topic, traceability. All right, well, welcome everyone officially to our virtual experience. And today's topic is traceability, and a really important topic to talk about, and an area that our company is leading in for many, many years, of being transparent with the consumer on how the product is made and where it comes from. It is super important nowadays, I think now more than ever, that people want to know what they're putting in their body is safe, what they're giving to their family, their kids is safe, and is going to truly help them live a healthier life. So it is an important topic to speak about, and it's my pleasure to be able to share this information with you guys today, especially all those new people joining in for the first time to our virtual experience. It's been a while since I've seen 46 people, I think, in here on a Tuesday, or 44 right now. Amazing to see. So thank you guys for taking some time out of your day to join us together. If you have any comments or questions and you're just joining in, please send them to the chat. We'll get to them at the end. Now, my name is Manny, by the way. I've been here for 14 years. As of next year, if you're just joining in, by the way, can you make sure that your microphones are muted, and there's no distractions, so that nothing pops up on the screen here when the audio comes in. Just a little heads up. But yes, I've been here for 14 years, almost 15 years, really close to 15 years. And it's been an amazing journey with Nutrilite, working alongside with all of our scientists, learning about the science behind Nutrilite, learning about our products through them, learning about the farms, visiting the farms around the world that we have. It's been an amazing time here with everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here still with you guys, to be able to get excited about our products and grow our knowledge about supplements and nutrition. So traceability. Today we're going to look at 3 key benefits that we receive when you have a solid traceability system within your supplement brand. In this case, of course, within our Nutrilite brand. Now, the 3 key benefits that you receive are purity, safety, and effectiveness. But before we get to that, we want to learn a little bit about traceability, the meaning behind it. Why is it important? So traceability is about knowing where our products are made and where they are coming from in detail. Now, from the very beginning to the very end, having the ability to control the entire process from beginning to end. It also represents transparency. Transparency is extremely important today. Like I mentioned, I think ever since 2020 COVID, it's been more and more important for us to be open about what goes into a product, the process of it as well, where the ingredients come from, because people want to know. They're more self-aware of their own health. And that is amazing to see, right? Because we all want to live a healthier life, and we want to help others also live a healthier life, like our loved ones, our kids, family members. So being transparent is extremely important. And today, there's lots of trends in traceability. I mentioned one last week, actually, when if you guys were here, that there was recently at a grocery store where I was at a store at a Whole Foods, I believe it was, and I was purchasing some food items, but I purchased eggs. Then there was an egg carton that had a QR code on it, and it said "Scan here to see the farm." And that instantly drew my attention, and I was like, "Wow, this is pretty cool. I want to see if this is real." And I grabbed it, I scanned it, and it took me directly to a website that had a camera of the farm where the chickens were raised, and you can see them just walking around. And it grew my trust in that brand. So that with that simple QR code, those are trends in traceability. Those are things that are happening more and more. The labels are becoming more apparent. They're starting to explain them more in detail of what it means, because they want to assure the safety and the trust is there with the consumer that is purchasing the product. So that is extremely important for us. So lots of trends are happening. But for Nutrilite, this is nothing new. Although the trends is happening, we've been in traceability and transparency for, as of this year in September, we'll be established as 90 years as a supplement brand. 90 years. The years alone should tell you about the quality behind our supplements. 90 years for us to be around. So we've been leading in traceability. But the definition today in the industry of the supplements of traceability is kind of generalized. They kind of have a certain scope or a certain set of rules that are laid on what traceability means and why it's important for them. That's the industry traceability definition. And what the definition is, knowing about the product from one tier up to one tier down from the company that they're purchasing it from. Meaning, if they're purchasing certain ingredients from a farm, they don't receive all the details or all this information. It's kind of basic or generalized information that they receive. But also in this diagram here, you can kind of see what it represents, or what the definition represents for the industry today. So you can see on some of these circles, the paintings or the drawings are very clear, and some of them are in a gray area. These ones that are clear represent things like manufacturing. Usually when you grab a supplement, it'll talk about where a manufacturing is located. And if you Google it, it might tell you, a few facts about that manufacturer. And that's good to know. And then the middle here, you see a package, right? Because you want to make it look attractive. For example, for me, I fell for that QR code on the eggs and I purchased it. It attracted me to it, right? That's part of traceability. We want to make it clean label, easy to read, and that's going to make us, the consumer, purchase that product too. And then, of course, the most important is how you feel when you actually take the supplement. Is it actually helping you with being effective, really bringing these benefits that they are stating? These are important steps, but what happens before? What happens before we even get to manufacturing, before we even get to the packaging? Who is designing the packaging? Who is working in manufacturing? Who's on the farms? How do they control the water, the soil? Who's the employees? Can we name them by name? Do we have information about their background? All these smaller details today matter. But for Nutrilite, they've mattered for 90 years. We've been following and going above and beyond from seed to supplement, controlling everything since the days of Karl Remborg, when he first came back from China in 1927 and started to purchase land and farm in California. We've been practicing these different steps, controlling everything down from the seed health, the soil health, the healthiest seeds that we can grow and harvest on our own. No chemicals or pesticides used on our farm. So we control everything even beforehand. So we're not stating that, oh, the industry is bad, is wrong. No, they're taking good steps. But we want to showcase how Nutrilite goes above and beyond, because one of the number one questions that we usually get when we're out in our business and speaking to others about the product is, why Nutrilite, right? What makes us any different from other supplement brands? But now you can see the details aren't really matter. They go much further than what they do in the industry today. Like I mentioned, this is nothing new to us at Nutrilite. We've been pioneering in traceability since the days of Karl Remborg. Now, Karl, the reason why we say this too is because when he came back from China, by the way, there's a virtual experience that explains more history about the details of the Karl Remborg story. But when he was in China and he came back from there in 1927, he was ready to put everything he learned out there into practice and start making products and buy land and farm. And he did just that. He bought farms in Reseda, California. In Buena Park, he had a small research farm. In Lakeview, we had that open for many, many years. It closed down in 2015. But these farms are so special because during that time, there was no such thing as organic farming or a certification that you can receive for organic farming. What's amazing is that Karl was already taking the steps to ensure that he was growing his plants or botanicals in a natural way without using chemicals or pesticides. Since the very beginning, he was already doing this when it wasn't even a thing just yet. This is why we say we are pioneers in traceability and also in the supplement industry from all the research and studies that he did for many, many years. So pioneers, this is nothing new to us. We're just putting the importance out there and this information out there for the consumers to know, for the IBOs to understand a lot better as well, because it can be a little bit confusing at times. So now that we know what is traceability, what it represents, why it's important, now we see the benefits that you receive when you have a solid traceability program in the supplement brand. So purity, safety, and effectiveness. Before we jump into the first one, which is purity, we'll talk about the farms that we have around the world, since there's new people in here in our virtual space. So we have 4 farms that are exclusively for Nutrilite in different parts of the world. We have them in Trout Lake, Washington. This farm is a total of about 1,200, close to 1,300 acres that we have in Trout Lake East and West together. They are in the largest certified organic valley in North America. So it's a perfect location for us to grow lots of our echinacea, our dandelion, our valerian hops, blueberries that we grow there, and many other fruits and vegetables that we have there, and botanicals that we grow there. It's surrounded by other organic farms and nature. We have Mount Adams about 30 to 40 minutes away, very close, and you can see this peak of the mountain right in front of the farm. Beautiful, filled with snow caps. As it melts away, it goes down to the White Salmon River as well, and we have that river flowing through our farm. It's just in the nature. You feel like you could even breathe better there in Trout Lake, Washington. In Petacán, Mexico, we also have 1,600 acres there. We grow spinach, kale, broccoli, cashews, pomegranates. Petacán is actually the most ideal for growing many of our crops because it has lots of rainfall throughout the year and lots of sunshine throughout the year. So one of the best climates that we receive is in El Petacán, Mexico. Then the largest out of all 4 is Ubaiyara, Brazil. In Brazil, we have over 3,000 acres of organic farm. Brazil's farm in Ubaiyara is actually known as the largest acerola cherry farm in the world, and that is Nutrilite's exclusively. So something to be proud of. This is truly what sets us apart from any other supplement brand. The fact that we have our very own organic farms within our brand, our products, and our chain. Now, the first benefit that we receive is purity. When you have a solid traceability program in the brand, in supplements. Purity is the first benefit, and a picture here is Daniel Cruz, the Trout Lake West Farm manager. She's been there for also years. She has a passion for organic farming. She even has an organic farm in her home. She's born and raised in this area of Trout Lake. There's a website called NutriliteTraceability.com that actually has a video on Daniel Cruz, and she talks a little bit about her background and what she does there. But in general, her and her team there have to have a plant's birth certificate of every single ingredient every single day from seed to supplement. So they know exactly who it was harvested by, what equipment they actually used, down to the minute that they were growing this and harvesting these plants. So every single plant has a plant birth certificate. Every single ingredient that goes into your vitamins, your formulas as well. So they can trace everything, what's pure and uncontaminated there. Like I mentioned, our water, we use nature to control nature. That's purity. So our water is a perfect example of this. And the perfect farm to explain this too is Trout Lake, Washington, because of the White Salmon River. The White Salmon River is a result of the water coming down from Mount Adams, or the snow caps melting from Mount Adams that we have all year long. So it gets very, very cold here in Trout Lake. Now the White Salmon River flows down the middle of our farm. It's beautiful. You can even hear it when you're around the area there too. It's very quiet. You can hear it flowing through our farm. And the water is very white. It almost looks like milk because there's hundreds of minerals coming down from Mount Adams Mountain. And when they join together, they make this white color into the water. And that's what we use to grow and harvest our crops, because it helps us with higher levels of phytonutrients into them. So natural resources, nature to control nature. Our air and soil is also pure and uncontaminated. We have records to prove we have over 20 years of organic farming on our certifications on our farms. Organic farming is not easy. We don't rely on chemicals or pesticides to kill off contaminations or bacteria. We have to handpick a lot of our crops too, because we don't want to damage the root of the plant or the leaves of the plant, especially if we're reusing these as compost into our concentrations, our compost that we have out there too. So we have to make sure that we are careful with every single botanical that we have, that we use especially into our products. So the environment matters. Before we even get to the farm, we have to research the sunlight temperature, the moisture level, how much water does one single botanical actually need. All this is being researched before we even get to the farm. So these are the smaller details to showcase the quality behind our Nutrilite supplements. And of course, another perfect way to explain our purity is the natural fertilizers that this means that we use bugs as well, insects, like ladybugs. We put all over our farm to protect the plants from other smaller insects that are trying to eat them. Natural predators that we can protect our land. Worms that help our soil health. Well, there's different types of worms that we use in Mexico and Brazil. For example, in Mexico, we have worm beds under a huge tent that we feed different plants and crops there. And when they release their food comes down into a bucket. We collect it all in a bucket. So the worm beds are on a little slope or a hill. We collect it all and we use that as natural liquid biofertilizer into our soil. So it's extremely important. They're Nutrilite employees helping us on our farms. And then we also have safety, the second key benefit that we have in Nutrilite Traceability. Picture here is Sam Kilgore. He's the manager for Nutrilite's quality assurance that we do there in Buena Park, California, in-house. Now, he's been there for years as well, and they've mentioned to us how they They run about every single year a minimum of 500,000 quality assurance checks per year. 500,000. This covers different things like yeast and mold, bacteria that can be found in certain in soil, in the water as well. They test minerals. They trace minerals that inside of they trace the minerals so that they can see if they can find any metals in them too that can be harmful. Radiation is also an easy way to kill off contamination, but it kills off the good nutrients that we need for our concentration, our plants, our botanicals, so we don't use it. But we want to make sure if something's been radiated too much or by the sunlight, it's killed certain nutrients. We test for all of that. We're fingerprinting every single plant to ensure its safety. So again, it's going above and beyond. Like I mentioned, we're pesticide free on our farm. We have about 3,000 tons of compost custom made to our liking without any pesticide residue. And we also have maps of every single field on the farm to ensure our irrigation levels are that we're not using too much or too little water into our botanicals, just the right amount. And also to know the exact time that we're ready to harvest them. It could be super late at night or really early in the morning. We know the exact moment, never too late, never too early. Now, safety standards are so important today because the U.S. Department of Agriculture, they issue kind of like a generalized requirements for an organic farm. And there's different steps that they take that we have to take to follow those that to receive that certification and follow those rules. And we do them, but those are just the start for us. We want to go above and beyond. I already mentioned one step that we take is testing the water, for example, for any kind of contaminants or bacteria. But another thing that's really impressive is that we also test every single tool and every single piece of equipment that we use on the farm and manufacturing. For example, what they're using here to take out samples, we'll wash and take sample saws to ensure there's no cross-crop contamination. Even the baskets that we use to put our botanicals in on our farms, we ensure its safety from any other kind of crops so that we don't harm with any bacterias or contaminants as well. And I remember visiting the farms, and every time I would visit the farms as well, there were so many rules that we had to follow to even go into a certain area of the farm. No jewelry is allowed, no phones in certain area, no makeup, no nail polish, no hair product. Only sunscreen was from Amway was allowed, but we weren't able to go into this because we don't want to drop anything and then contaminate the soil. That's how strict the rules are when we have on our farm. That's why we have certain shoes that must be worn. There's even a decontamination area before going in and out of the actual farm. Even the baskets, like I mentioned, before reusing them to put the next crops that we're actually harvesting, we wash them. There's wash stations, and we take samples to ensure that there's no contaminants in it as well. So we monitor all of our farms. There's 38 cameras running 24 hours a day, so we know every single interaction that is happening with anyone there on the farm and the crops that we have. And I mentioned, of course, that the water is also tested for pathogens or bacteria and its safety for our crops too. This is the smaller details that someone you don't think right away about, right? Of what goes into these tablets here into producing one as well. And also just what's really impressive is to know that the scientists are studying with how much water we're even using, and because we don't want to use the irrigation that we have there, so we have to track the irrigation levels that we use to each of our farms. Excuse me. Now, the last key benefit that we have in our traceability program is being effective. Effective to me has to be the most important part of traceability, because without effectiveness, we wouldn't have an effective supplement that would truly improve our health. We wouldn't have an effective process that works very quickly to preserve high levels of phytonutrients into our ingredients. So our Jennifer Schwang is a perfect example of her and her team have to study for one single botanical. If they're researching to use one in the future or reformulate a formula, a supplement, they study about 40 to 50 novels, books for one single botanical to understand the health benefits, the growing process, the life cycle of the plant, how it does when it's blended with other concentration. Excuse me. How can we achieve the high levels of phytonutrients into a small single tablet? They study the minerals, absolutely everything. Again, like I mentioned, even the compression of a tablet or the blending of a tablet, they do it in smaller batches before we even go into manufacturing, because we wanted to run it safely every single step of the way. So effectiveness has to be one of the most important to receive a high quality supplement. We work effectively also by working very quickly, which is why we designed bed dryers already on our farm to mix all these other plants as well together, so that we can have a reduced drying time by half. So we can mix different plants in here or botanicals, and this will help us actually preserve key phytonutrients from beginning to end. So we do this actually in about 20 minutes from the farm into our bed dryer is when we deliver in about 20 minutes from so that we can preserve those key phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are the smallest nutrients that can be found inside of a plant, fruit, or vegetable, but they're the most powerful. Phyto is the Greek word for plant, and nutrients are life-enabling substances. And that's what we're using into our supplements from these botanicals that we harvest. We also have to harvest at a certain time. So peak harvesting is extremely important. Like I mentioned, our scientists, before we even get to start processing the botanicals or harvesting them, they know exactly at which date, which minute, they're going to have the highest levels of phytonutrients. This is important because every single plant, fruit, or vegetable has a different life cycle, right? At some moments, let's say a pomegranate will do better when it's unripe than when it's super sweet for phytonutrient content. So with what we need for our tablets, that's why the acerola cherry is a very easy to explain and easier to understand about how we actually test these and research them, because we noticed that there's over 80 types of different acerola cherries. And we noticed that when they're unripe and green, they're actually at the healthiest and highest point for phytonutrient, not when they're yellow, red, or orange. At that point, they're a little bit sweeter and they taste better, but the nutrients have declined by then. So we want to be there ready and harvest them at a green point. That's why a lot of the photos that you see of acerolas are very green for our vitamin C. They say 1 drop of a juice from an acerola cherry is equivalent to 40 drops from a juice of an orange in vitamin C content. So just one of them equivalent to 40 orange vitamin C in an orange. So very, very powerful. Another way we're effective as well is by partnering with farms. Many people always ask us if the 4 farms I mentioned earlier are the only farms that we have, and if they're not, why aren't they? Well, if we could grow everything we could in over the 6,000 acres of organic farmland that we have, we totally would. But it's impossible to grow the healthiest plants that way, because every single botanical requires a different environment. Especially, for example, a great example is the rosemary that you see here. The rosemary requires a very dry-like area, like a desert-like environment. And we do not have that currently in our line of farms. So we need to make sure that we have to go out and see where we can actually grow these actual crops. Excuse me, sorry. My puppy is barking right now. But we need to ensure that it's also safety and filled with phytonutrients that we require for our supplements. So for this reason, we have a team of scientists that work under NutriCert farms, and they go out to audit about 40 to 60 partner farms a year at our peak growing season. That way we can understand exactly the health benefits that we have of a single ingredient, and we can also study and research the farms there as well. So it's extremely important for us to get together with these scientists to go to the NutriCert farms and research and study these locations They have to be ecologically sustainable and socially responsible. That is extremely important, which means that we have to ensure that they're taking care also of their employees. The villages and the towns surrounding these areas is super important as well. So this is why we partner up with our scientists, and they go to these NutriServe farms to research them. And then once they actually send us their concentration powders, they have to be tested too, just like ours would be from our own farm. They have to ensure the safety from any kind of contaminants and bacteria as well. So this is why NutriSert is exceeding industry standards today. So now we know how NutriSert works, and now we know how traceability is also extremely important for us. We want to continue. We hope that this actually helps answer a growing consumer concern, which is the safety behind our products and what makes us different from any other supplement brand. Now you know the purity, safety, and effectiveness of a single product is extremely important, and you have a better understanding also of what traceability means and why transparency is super important. I think since I've been here for the last 14 years, this has been the most important thing I've noticed of Nutrilite is being open to explaining to others and their consumers how the product is made and where it comes from, because it grows the trust. It draws us closer as well to our own product. We become even more proud and excited to speak to others about our supplements. So that is traceability and the definition and the benefits that we receive when you have a solid traceability program in a supplement brand like Nutrilite. So I want to thank you guys all for taking some time out of your day today and joining us here on this virtual space, virtual experience to learn more about Nutrilite. I hope you learned something new, whether it be about the purity, the safety, or the effectiveness of our products that we have today. I want to say, thank you for all of your guys' hard work that you guys do every single day by going out and speaking to others. I hope that this makes you more excited to go out there and help others live a healthier life too, and show them the quality of our supplements. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. Let me see. Right, we have a big group today. Give me 1 second very quickly. Let me